So my name is Averil Curci, and I'm a photography specialist with a background based in New York, Rome, and London, and I'm now a judge for the Ashurst Emerging Art Prize in the photography section. I think photographically, in the last sort of 10 years of my career, I think I find conceptual photography the most interesting, and that can take many, many different avenues and have different sort of aesthetic effects, but conceptual framework around that work got me very excited in recent years. With emerging artists, I think I'd have to say it's actually painting that has grabbed me, and I having come from photography and now more immersed in sort of different media, I think I'm really gravitating towards painting, figurative painting. I think it's having a really exciting moment, and I'm really inspired by it at the moment. Yeah. So at the moment, I'm the curator of an online platform called covet.art, and it's very closely working with emerging artists. So that's been a total joy, together with the prize, which I've judged now. This is my second year judging. So my background really was working more with established artists, photographic artists, and in the last few years, my work has led me closer to emerging art, both through the prize and through my current project. And it's been incredibly exciting. I find it much more rewarding, honestly, to work with emerging artists. I think they have a freshness to what they do, and they're more open and welcoming of my input, which I find can be a great collaboration. So my current job is based on finding emerging talent, handpicking them, interviewing them. So that's where I find the talent is incredibly pressing and important. So I've decided that degree shows and art schools are a fantastic first start. I think you get a really professional preview. It's an exhibition ready, glimpse on the work. I think one of my favorite moments is absolutely visiting artist studios. I find that to be the most enlivening kind of interaction I can have with artists and the work. So artist studios are fantastic. Art fairs are great. It can be a tiring experience. So a mixture of all those things. And Instagram, obviously, you never know what can sort of jump out at you. Yeah. So finding new artistic talent and my responsibility, I think on the greater scheme, I think the art world is changing. And it's becoming more challenging. And I think as art world professionals, we have to keep connecting and discovering emerging talent and finding avenues and channels to display the work and make it visible to a larger audience. Yeah. So an artist's online presence is incredibly important, and I think almost every artist I've met either has a website or more and more Instagram. They're moving on to Instagram, and that's where I'm finding they're posting the most updated content. I think they're really connecting with that channel, so that's great. But I would really, really urge artists to not forget a website. I think it's an incredibly professional facade to what you do. And I think it needs to be kept up to date. I think it needs to be laid out in a really professional way. And that's how art world professionals that's what they will refer to as well. I think Instagram can mix your real life with your work life, and it's a beautiful mix, but not everyone has an arts-only Instagram. So I think it's incredibly important to have a channel such as your website where you're very clear and professional. So my advice for artists entering prizes would certainly be to pay very specific attention to artist statements. Many artists don't submit text, and that is very problematic for judging. You're left with nothing to base your opinion and judging process on, so that's problematic. But the artist statement is an overwhelmingly important element to your practice. Artists need to find ways to either write things down while they're making the work, or just start writing, putting pen to paper a little bit more in connection with their work and the reason why they're making the work. So I'd say that is incredibly important. So for artists, I'd absolutely suggest that they get external help. Show the work, show the text to your friends and family. specifically, if you can, an art world professional. There's certainly a lot that can be gleaned by having different audiences really connect with the words you're using to express. In a broader sense, artists in general should pay really close attention to the way that they edit their larger portfolio when you're making a body of work, and getting closer to finalizing it. I think it's incredibly important that you really look at it all together. I think it's incredibly important for artists to also to take advice from other people. I think there's always one or two sort of iconic images from a series, and I think that's what's going to help you win a prize as well, and get a wider attention from the art world and everyday art lovers. Yeah. So photography can be seen by many people to be either outside or on the outskirts, of the art world. Of course, I have a huge problem with that, but I think that lies in the fact that some people regard the photograph to be a document rather than art, and the kind of friction between those two on an ongoing basis. Photography is used for so many different purposes, and I think that's a wonderful thing. But I think that that's the main issue. Also, the 200 years is it's an incredibly recent art form, so it will only take time. But I'm convinced that we will get there, and it will be known down the line as one of the greatest art forms. So I think the potential photography has as an art form is limitless, both because of where we were discussing before of it being a document and its range moving to being regarded as an art form. So I think we're going to witness, because of its digitization and dissemination, we're going to witness a really interesting time in the next maybe 5-10 years. I think that won't stop. It's just going to be a really interesting arc it's going to take, and who knows where that will take us, but it's certainly going to be entertaining. I mean, part of me thinks it's like, being an artist nowadays is such a struggle. And that struggle and the artistry and creativity that comes out of that needs to be rewarded and given attention to and supported. So I would say the art world needs more support in emerging talents. There certainly is a lot, but I think it can often keep on a kind of commercial level, where I think it should go into a deeper, more strategic, just mentoring. I think an artist is, I think there's a lot of value there. And I think that's what the prize does in many ways too, and that's why it's so important.